Hey everybody, I'm Brian.
Hello everybody, this is Joe G.
Hey, I'm Shannon.
Hi, I'm Ron.
Hey, this is Steve.
Oh,
There's
and
Brian.
don't forget about Marcel.
Oh, hey. Hey everybody, I'm Brian.
Hello everybody, this is Joe G.
All right.
Hey, I'm Shannon.
Hi,
Hey, everyone.
Hey, this is Steve.
The intro's playing right now.
Yeah. No, we're live now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I need to turn that off.
Yep. Well, I guess I'll say good morning, everyone. Yes, I was made to do this.
Yes.
Okay, so this morning we have Brian and Steve and myself, Shannon, back on the show. I'm hoping our audio is working, which I believe from the test we've done the last 14 hours is actually worked.
How are we for audio and video, ladies and gentlemen?
You let us know, please. We got tacos and burritos this morning.
Oh, I'm taking this off.
Shannon said the hat weighs 2 pounds.
Oh. Test. Hello? Uh-oh.
I think we got thumbs up.
We're getting thumbs up from Norman.
Audio, video, good. Yes.
Good. Let's roll. Proceed.
Sounds good.
All right. So, Brian, do you want to take the lead on this one this morning?
Yeah. Oh, good morning. Welcome everybody to Trackside on the Back on Track channel. We're so glad to have each and every one of you here. Got 18 people in now. A strong 18 too. Want to say good morning, Steve?
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? We are excited and fired up.
Yep. And
I know Shannon is.
Yeah, and I'll say good morning as well. As always for today's show, I'll be the cameraman. So if I don't do a lot of talking, you know why. I'm busy behind the scenes trying to make sure this show runs smoothly.
Well, you got to talk because I'm not the talker.
Oh, Steve, you're going to be talking. Trust me. You'll learn. Okay, so for this morning's show, we are talking about, what's involved when you want to get into model railroading. So, the aspects of it, why people get into it kind of deal, what goes through their head, and where do you actually start?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shannon. One of the things that we talked about, decided to do, was to kind of make this series a sequence where any modeler who was starting out could go from kind of the beginning to the end. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to sequence the streams to help somebody who might be just starting out, that could kind of watch through and get important questions answered and things like that. Today, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to talk about scale, choosing scale, how to choose scale, why you should choose scales. We're also going to talk about eras. And what else are we talking about, Steve?
Well, I was thinking of budget too. What do you have to work with? I mean, that's going to be a driving force too. But
Shannon?
Yeah, bear with me. My computer decided to play funny games with me.
Okay.
No, there's those gremlins again.
Yeah, stay. Good computer. All right.
Well, the first thing we had discussed that everybody should probably consider first is scale, right, Shannon?
Oh yeah, exactly. So consider scale
Shannon?
and go from there. Yeah, bear with me.
Yeah, because how much room you have is going to drive, what you do.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So what do you guys in chat? What are some things that new modelers should consider when they are selecting their scale? And Shannon, what do you think?
Well, one of the things with me, when I was getting into model railroading was, I started off young. I didn't have a lot of money, I didn't have a lot of space. So I needed to figure out a way to make my layout modular and portable. So those are the kind of ideas I've had. What about you, Steve?
Well, I started out in HO. That's my roots go way back in HO, and I was out of the hobby for a long time and got back in about 3 years ago. Kids were gone, and I had room out in my office out in my shop, and I threw in a small HO layout. And I'm limited by room. I can't put anything in the house. So that was my space to work with. And well, I started then I switched to N-Gauge because I could put more in, but I'm still limited to the walls I have. And so mine was space, primarily. I couldn't do with HO what I'm doing with the N-Gauge. So that's what, drove me was, the amount of room I had to work with. So that's kind of where my progression has gone. What about you?
Brian?
What's your thought?
Well, mine was really funny. I had built a deck over the summer myself, and I had had a great time doing it, but I was exhausted. It spent like a month and a half building a deck by myself, and I wanted to do something, sit down and do something that I enjoyed. So I went and bought a little model, and it was in scale. I was like, what's all this about? And I YouTubed it. Anyway, long story short, I decided I was going to be a model railroader at that point, and I figured out how big the shed was. I had 16 feet here and 10 feet this way and 16 more feet this way, and I was going to do Z-scale because I could have an empire that way. Then I saw how big Z-scale stuff was and changed my mind, and went with N-scale based on the fact that I felt like I could have a really big layout with 16 by 10 by 16, and particularly I could have a real long continuous loop that could probably last me a lifetime. And one of the things that I did was I watched a lot of videos. I almost think that Ron Marsh has a video that I watched very early about picking your scale. I'm not sure if you guys in chat know of any good videos that you could refer new modelers to when they're selecting scale. You might make a reference to them in chat as well.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, Brian. I'm just looking on the chat right now. Fred Wild, one of our viewers this morning, has said detail level also plays a part in which scale you want to choose.
True.
Yeah, something I didn't consider at all.
No, that's good. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Fred. Thanks for that. So scale is a big thing, So obviously, let me just change camera angles for a second.
Well, what are the other considerations? You got to factor in what you're able to work with. Some people have big, clumsy hands. Other people don't. Some people have, arthritis issues, and other people don't. Scale could be determined by that as well. Something that has to be considered.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Not just size. Not just the size of your room, what's your ability to work with as well. I don't think I could work with Z-scale very well. I'll be honest with you.
I wouldn't be able to see it. So yeah, age plays a lot in it. As you get older, you fumble around with stuff because you can't see it, and N-scale's small enough. I mean, that's I spent a lot of time with a magnifying glass.
When I went to that. When I went to that rail fest, I talked to that guy who had the Z-scale T-tracks, and one of the things he did say about Z-scale in their defense is that all the Z-scale equipment is typically of very high quality, so you don't get a lot of garbage in Z-scale, he said. So that does aid in the fact that it is a lot smaller.
Yeah, I agree to that. But in adding to that, if you think about the scales, I can guarantee most people, when they're a child, started off with O gauge or HO or double O gauge, and now that we're, getting older, we're able to support our own hobby on our own.
Can I interrupt for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Joe G's chiming in. He says, I'm not sure how people work with N-scale. 40 and can't see that stuff.
Good morning to you, Joe
Good
G.
morning.
Yeah, morning to you, Joe.
Thanks, Trains in the house. Hey, Chuck.
Yeah, maybe you should jump onto this feed here and actually chat to us, Joe. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So you've got all these scales to work with, and like adding to what Fred was saying before. When you want to look at, depending on what detail you want to look at, depends. Can help with what scale you want to go with, but also, if you don't want to go, super detailed with the rolling stock, the locomotives and whatnot, but you want to, have large landscapes, that might determine, going a smaller scale like the N or the Z scale.
Mm-hmm.
True. Well, where your emphasis or love on the area of the hobby is.
Well, I would have to throw in, as far as size, would be what do you want to do with track? I mean, is somebody wanting to lay their own track? And you know what I'm talking about, Joe. You're not going to want to do that with Z scale or N scale. And HO is bad enough because I've done it.
Sorry, Steve, saying that, I have seen someone hand lay N scale track, and my God, I look at them like, what is wrong with you?
No way. No.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, but if somebody's going to want to hand lay track, that eliminates, several scales, and so that might be something too.
I have to interrupt. If we're going to talk about hand laying track and that kind of thing, we have a viewer in today named Claude over there that makes his own dual gauge turnouts and lays his own track. And if you haven't seen his stuff, that's Claude over there. Say hello, Claude. Let him know, because man, that's some fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
he's the handling god, man. That's I can't believe that. I've done stuff like that, not even close. I mean, that is, incredible work. Absolutely.
He is the man.
Oh, I'd have to go over to see that. I think I've seen a couple of his videos before.
Yeah.
So
he could dual gauge what Dave BNF N scale is the N scale. Mm-hmm. Dave BNF N scale is the N scale, like The Rock is the wrestling.
Yeah. Anyway, just to keep the show going for the minute, so obviously, we've started off talking about scales, what scales that, are there, what kind of scale you want to go into and whatnot. But I guess the next part of it is, the planning, like as yourself said, Brian, and Steve said, how much room do you have? Do you want to make a massive empire? Do you want it to be portable, like in my situation? Or, do you want to have a shelf layout? And, coming to terms with that comes down to a point of planning. So you go, okay, I've chosen this scale. What do I want to design? How do I go about it? And then with that, there's all these subcategories to go underneath it. So, one example would be, what era are you going to model in? Brian?
Very true. And, we met with, in test last night, we had Marcel in with us. And he made me think of something that's very important in consideration of these things, too. How long are you going to be in the location where you're going to have this layout? Do you need to make it in a modular capacity so you can move it if you're going to move? Or are you where you're at permanently? Because Marcel has some situations where he's not really proceeding much with his layout because he could be building a new one soon.
Yeah, and that's where, in my situation, I started off this layout, doing my layout when I was young. I was only 18, 19 years old. And, I was still living at mum's, and I knew from day dot, it's like, well, I'm not going to be here in the next 2 to 3 years. I'm going to be moving out. If I'm going to be moving out, I don't want to be ripping this whole thing apart to just take it with me to wherever I move to. So, I started building everything modular. Right. Yes, I've made a lot of mistakes, but, now I've got a layout I've had for the last 6 years, I think, 5, 6 years, and it's still going strong. I'm still adding bits and pieces to it, still slightly modifying some parts of the scenery or the design of the table to make it structurally better and sound, so
Right. Well, and add to that would be, plan, maybe, a little pre-planning, because in Marcel's case, he's got quite a bit of room, but he's not happy with his layout. He calls it a couple of donuts. And so I think that might be a demotivating factor for somebody, is you get your layout in and go, man, I really don't like this. So maybe do some pre-planning on once you figure out how much room you have, and go from there.
yeah, exactly, and like, even to add on top of what you're saying, Steve, is what's the best way to actually start planning? Do you draw on paper? That's the oldest trick in the book. There's all
Yep.
this CAD software you can download off the internet for free. There's some that are on trial versions, some that are completely free, and you can modify it how you need to. But there's many options on how to figure out how much room, how you want to design it, and what kind of layout you want to kind of construct, and get an idea what's going on. Do you have anything to add to that, Brian?
Well, yeah, actually, I use the Tracks editor. It's a free program. It's an online program, and it's free. It's called Tracks, TRAX editor. And that's what I used. It's kind of user-friendly. It wasn't too difficult to use, but it had every amount of track and scale you could think of. And so I used that to initially make my plans, which have changed multiple times since. And I guess that's something that should be considered when drawing your track plan, particularly when you're very new to the hobby, is you need to factor in the fact that it may change. I had no interest at all in any kind of switching operations or anything when I initially started out. All I wanted was a real long continuous loop. And, as you progress in the hobby and get to know things and people in the hobby a little more, and get involved in the community, you begin to realize there's a whole lot more.
Brian, you there? You dropped out.
Yeah, I think we lost Brian.
Oh, that'd be right.
Oh.
Okay. Looks like Colonel Murphy strikes again.
Yeah.
That's one to Colonel Murphy. Can someone keep count of that?
We thought he was gone.
Oh, here we go. No, Brian's had a power out. He's just sent me a message off the mobile.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So I guess.
Okay. Well, Brian will be back with us momentarily. Well, to what Brian was saying, is like, as he said, when you start off, a lot of people just want to see a train go round and round and round and round.
Mm-hmm.
They like watching the trains. They love seeing trains. It's kind of the whole fan viewing. I don't know what it's called because I don't even do it.
Rail fanning.
That's the one. Rail fanning. But in saying that, as you learn more and more about the hobby, and railroad procedures, and what's available, you want to expand, you want to get bigger, and you want to start moving away from, like me personally, now I want to build a layout where it has some, point to it, has a point A, a point B for some industries, but I still want that continuous loop so I can run my long passenger trains,
right,
and just see them run.
Right. Well, I would have to go back, to what Brian was saying as far as, just backstepping about designing a layout. I designed mine with a pencil and a piece of binder paper. I mean, that was my track plan. And my space was my HO layout that I had, and that's what I did. And I still got the piece of paper with the single main line that I started, and that was kind of what I did. I wanted a continuous loop and be able to watch it run. But then the brain starts working, and you think, well, maybe I can do this, and then you end up with a big mess that I've got, because that's not nothing I have was planned. It was all done a little bit at a time, and watching videos of what people were doing, and so, well, I can do that. And so that, now I'm going to a second deck, at some point this next year, and that's crazy because I haven't even finished the first one. So, so you get out of control sometimes.
Yeah, and I can totally agree with that. Like a couple of past layouts I've designed, was just totally out of the blue, no planning. Yeah, I got a bit of paper, I drew up a quick sketch. I'm like, that looks good, and just did it. And now, where are they? They don't exist anymore. I pulled them apart, I destroyed them, I tried to modify them, and it just all went to crap. Like, you want to take your time when you first start and actually plan what you want to build.
Well, and I kind of went faster than I should have. All the stuff I had is secondhand. Nothing I have on my layout is new. It's all hand me downs. I've got stuff from friends and family, and I have my layout gremlins. I've tried to do the track work as good as possible. And I don't have much problem with that, but I do have issues with secondhand Atlas switches. So, you're going to put a lot of work into a layout. You kind of want to do some pre-planning on the material you're going to use. Reliability of running, because it's you can have this great layout, but if it runs like crap, that's no fun. So you're dealing with layout problems all the time. And what I've done is move from I'll get things going pretty rock solid, and then I'll move on to the next thing, and try not to do too much at one time. But I'm starting to get a little out of control, and my suggestion would be don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Take your time.
Anyway, on a side note, I'm just looking at the chat now. Norman Rowe has pointed out this sign right here. Yes, I know it's backwards. Okay, yes, I know my camera's mirror image. But let's just call that Brian for the minute. That's Brian, okay? That is Brian right there. So, speak of the devil, I just got another message of him. His computer's going to be started back up in about 3 to 4 minutes, supposedly. So,
well, that's good, because I can't hold the show.
Oh, why not?
For sure.
Oh, come on. Everyone wants to look at your ugly mug all day, don't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
At least I don't have a sombrero.
Yeah. Yeah. Dale PWR guy, he's just rocked up, said he was a little bit late. Had to make a run to Walmart for some glue and paint. Let's see, Heavy J. I am yet to see that, Heavy J, if toilets do flow backwards compared to you guys. So don't start with the Aussie jokes here, all right? None of that, otherwise it's going to become a all-out, verbal internet war, so to speak.
Well, and Roy Smith has thrown up a good point. He says, even if you start with a precise track plan, you will likely end up wanting to make changes in the track arrangement after running trains on it for a while. Yeah. And I can relate to that, because it's, you do things differently after watching your layout run. It's like, so you're tearing stuff out and redoing. So yeah, I get you, Roy.
Yeah, well, like that's what I found with one of the programs I used, which was Extract CAD. And the one thing I liked about Extract CAD was there was a section in it, which was a simulator, and you can actually, it had representations of GP 40-2s and 50-foot box cars and whatever else, but you could actually run trains around what you designed to see it's like, oh yeah, this is how it'll kind of operate. Oh, I don't like how that goes, because if I need to back a train into there, this happens, and it's a bit too short, too long, whatever.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Well, Joe G says that his layout's run by gremlins. So I guess,
Oh, the gremlins are everywhere, I mean, when you have people like Colonel Murphy in charge of them, things are going to go wrong regardless. So, I reckon that should be our mascot, Colonel Murphy.
Colonel Murphy. I think so.
All right. Yeah, I've got to see if I can, get his details, give him a call, get him on the show.
Okay.
What do you reckon, guys? Should we get Colonel Murphy onto the show with us?
Hey. I'm on it. I'm back.
Yeah.
My bad. Back. Man, I don't know what happened. the power just went pump and came right back on, but everything had to reboot and reload and all that stuff.
Well, we were just talking about gremlins anyway, so.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
It's good to be back with y'all.
Yeah. Anyway,
What are we talking about?
We're still on planning. Yeah, gremlins and planning still. So I just added on to what you were saying, Brian. Was there anything else you wanted to add on to what you were saying before that, we might have missed?
No, the only thing I think we should maybe touch on before the break is maybe to the mods that after the break, we might run through the live streams, the other live streams in the community. So if our mods if you're able to, get a couple links together for like Nate and Tom and Vinny and Sparky and all those guys, we're going to be announcing those after the break.
All right. Well, I won't be able to grab any of that. So if you want to organize that, Brian.
No, I was hoping like Norman or Joe or some of those guys might be able to do that. I'm not able to do that on my end with what I'm doing here either. So,
so I was just talking about getting just the YouTube links to post up there for everyone, or
yeah, just the mods in the chat could post the links when we're talking about the streams if they wanted to.
Yeah, because I do have let's say I've got yours, Steve's, myself, Marcel's, Sparky's, all our channels are down in the description if anyone wants to have a look. So good. But in saying that, what is it? It's 26 minutes into the broadcast, so I don't know if there's anything else you really want to add before we go to a break.
The only thing I'll add is James Braxton putting out that I started with a track plan from a book. And it was a shelf plan that worked because I live in an apartment and how much stuff costs. So that's back to the room and the cost. So I'm just throwing that one out.
Yeah. Actually, James does bring up a good point. One thing we didn't touch on when you do planning is the cost, because the cost is going to drive a lot on how you design it,
Yeah.
Like, do you want to design it in pieces by pieces, like, what the T-Track guys do, or do you want to just spend, a fortune on tracks straight away and then go from there and then go, right, that's what I'm up to. I'll spend the next fortune on A, B, and C and keep going.
Exactly, because I'm poor, and so all my plans consist of being able to run a continuous loop through every extension. I've got like 5 extensions planned, and every time there's going to be a way to integrate a continuous loop as it grows. And I planned that throughout time. And before we go to the break, one thing that Roy Smith said earlier that made me think about something in picking scale is, and it piggybacks off what you just said, Shannon, money. You could do in scale if you're rich because you can use Cato Unitrack. It makes things so much easier. My point being is if you're going to be budget friendly, you might want to go with a slightly larger scale that's easier to manipulate. As we were saying earlier, they were saying Z-scale products are high quality, but they're very expensive. There are N-scale products that are of real high quality that can make N-scale modeling very simple. There are N-scale products of a lower quality that can make N-scale modeling very difficult. And I've seen that firsthand.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree with that there. Anyway, it's about that time now, so it's 20 minutes into the broadcast. So we'll have a quick 2-minute break, guys. So if anyone wants to top up on their coffees or biscuits or, I don't know, brewskis, whatever you guys are drinking right now, I don't care,
Too early in the mornings.
Yeah, exactly. All right, anyway, so we'll have a 2-minute break. I do have a little bit of a video that I've pulled from my channel, which kind of relates to what we're talking about here today. So enjoy the commercial and we'll be back shortly.
I think it's going good. What do you think?
Yeah, my bad on the power glitch. My bad on that. I don't know what happened.
Hush,
but
Brian.
Yeah.
Right.
What now?
Okay, guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. That was courtesy of myself. That was a little bit of a video I just made on my channel, which was a storyline of when I built my layout. Now, in saying that, we have a bit of a latecomer join us this morning. Marcel, how are you going?
Marcel Ballure in the house.
Good morning, Marcel.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
Little party, slept in.
We're not gonna hold it against you, Marcel. It's all good.
Yeah, you were up late.
There goes my cat. Way to go, Gary. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Now just before we continue on with what we're talking about this morning, with you want to start a model railroad, that intermission, that little 2-minute section that we put in the middle of our show, that is open for anyone who wants to send us in any videos or of anything. If you want to just talk about whatever you want about for 2 minutes about your model railroad, just send it to us via email. We'll put it up there, to broadcast to everyone in the community. If you want to do a little dance, do a dance. We don't mind.
We want to see. We want to see.
It's time for Christmas carols. Excuse me.
Oh, what was that? Was that Colonel Murphy I hear coming along again?
Something.
All right. So before the break, we were talking about planning. Threw out some ideas. Like the old school way, using paper, using software. I guess the next part which can add on to that is what kind of power source are you going to run? Brian, I'll let you take the lead on this one for the minute.
Well, I started out with DC because I knew nothing, and I'm still DC. And after watching Tom of Tom's Trains and things, I'm going to go DCC++ in the near future. A lot of that has to do with the fact that you can automate with the computer, and my understanding is it's much less expensive than DC. What do you think, Marcel?
More than likely, I run DCC. I'm a Digitrax guy myself. I've got JMRI for all my programming needs and stuff like that. I think DCC is like the next thing, like the capabilities with the sound and the advancements in sound. In the last 2 years. Was it soundtracks coming on and the new V5 chips that you can actually integrate your own sound, record your own sounds, put them on your locomotives, make it more prototypical. I'm all about the DCC. I've been doing my own installs for a few years now. The lighting, what you can get out of a DCC locomotive, like the advancements that you get out of the Athearn Genesis, the scale trains, the Rapidos, the Bowsers, with switching class lights, and it's amazing. I mean, it's so prototypical now. I get this the simplicity of DC. I mean, I run DC for my grandkids, just to make it easy enough for them.
Yeah. And just to add to what you were saying, Marcel, a lot of the community, the whole aspect of DCC, being able to have sound in their locos and being able to make it more prototypical might appeal to some, so they'll go down that track of doing DCC. But then there's other people, like the older generation who they don't want to get into the electronic side of it. They don't want to get into the what may seem complicated. They just want to keep it simple, keep it old school to what they're, what they grew up with, just with the little standard little hand throttle, and just control the voltage from there.
No, see, I'll add to that. I fall in that category. I'm going to stick DC. I mean, I'm to the point now. I couldn't afford to switch over to DCC. It cost me a fortune. I didn't get into it for that. I'm definitely old school. So I fall into the age category of keep it simple, stupid. I'm just, I'm technically challenged. I can do basic. I grew up doing old school DC blocks, toggle switches, and so forth and so on. And I'm going to stick with that. I think DCC is awesome. My dad, it would have totally gone crazy over DCC. I mean, I grew up with model railroading with him, and to be able to do what's done with the technology now would just have blown him away. That's what he's always wanted to do. But I'm sticking old school, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And
can.
sorry, Brian.
Oh, I mean, you can creep your way into it too. I started DC because of money and intended to stay that way. But my layout, as it has grown, that has changed the fact that I'm not going to be able to stay DC. If I want to make this helix over here not look so roller coasterish, I got to put some scenery in that I'm not going to be able to access the turnouts. So I'm going to need to automate.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, automating is easy. I mean, with the DCC, I put in Taurus turnouts, Taurus controls on my turnouts here. I can all switch it off my throttle. As I go, they're all numbered. Just hit switch one, open or close. Away you go. You don't have to run around the layout. You can set in one spot and you can turn everything off.
Yeah, and to add on to that again, that aspect of what power supply you want to run and how you want to control your layout will affect how you plan it, how you want to design it, how big you want to make it, how small you want to make it, what operations you're going to do,
Well, and it goes back to how you're going to control it. I mean, you got your Digitrax DT402 throttle, right? I mean, it's just a simple knob, speed up and down, pick your functions. Or like the latest biggest craze now is the proto throttle, which is actually prototypical of right. It's got your speed control. It's not a dial. It's notches, right? Notch 1 through 8, and your horn. That you can control your horn, right? It's actually it's pretty darn cool. If you're doing operations, you're doing switching. It's a whole new ball game. It's so realistic. It's okay. You know what? You set your throttle up. Okay, notch 2. I'm coming into the siding. I gotta hit my brakes, right? Gotta hit my brakes before I can hit the car, right? Decouple, take off, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, right? Very realistic. Very realistic.
Wow.
Yeah. Just looking at the chat, there's a few people who have been in DC and have moved to DCC. I see Gary Corbin. He's building in DC and will be converting to DCC. So he's following your track, Brian. There. What else is going on in the chat?
Yeah, my first boat at 16, my dad and I built together. Right. That was DC. I got out of it for literally about 10 years, cars and girls, got married, got some kids. Always wanted to play with trains again. My first layout when I was about 25, second layout when I was 25, it was DC, started out at DC. And it was like the first oncoming of DCC. It was such an easy switch to DCC, and I've been there ever since.
Yeah. Just going back to the chat again. Dale PRR Guy Bass. I'm old school DC. Love creating my own sounds and things. Block, love it. It's fun. I have to really use my imagination, my brain, or what brain I have.
I agree with you, Dale.
Yeah. Those DC blokes, the ingenuity that they come out to actually create sounds themselves, for.
I don't do that.
Yeah, but from what I'm understanding, Dale saying, it sounds like he makes sounds, whether they're in the locos or just for scenery. I've seen kits for, a marching band. You buy little figurines of a marching band, comes with a circuit board, and you can it'll play. You know, I don't know what music it'll play, but it plays music.
Yeah. Well, even all the animations and stuff, I've seen some of the layouts. Yeah. And you know, there's a guy who's got a farm and he's got chickens moving around in his farmyard, and he's got a soundtrack with, you know, here's a chicken, here's a cow, and you know, typical sound, you know, farm sounds. It's yeah, the world's your oyster here, right?
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Gary Corbin's chiming in. Excuse me, Gary Corbin says, "Yep, costs for me. Lots to do and money to spend before DCC is really needed." So I mean, it all boils down to what you want to do and what makes you happy. You know?
Yeah, and in saying that, you know, on the subject of DCC or DC versus DCC, you know, like it's a whole other topic in our sense for, you know, our streams, which we can discuss later on. But you know, like right now, just talking about, you know, you want to start a model railroad, you know, you want to get into the hobby, you know, the options you have is, you know, there's just so much you can look at. And when you start to look at the intricate little details of each different system, you know, it's just each one is a step up from each one. So you've got DC, and then when you look at the DCC brands, you know, you've got your basic DCC throttles all the way up to your proto throttles. And then obviously, you know, animations, block detection, you know. I know Digitrax are pretty good with their block detection hardware. NCE, I think, is getting up there with that. You know, you got ESU, which, you know, have their LCD screen throttle, which, you know, you can actually upload photos of your locos you've programmed and, you know, install decoders in.
Mm-hmm.
So
and Marty Ann's putting out a good point too, that some locomotives run on both DC and DCC with sound and light. So
yeah.
You can, you know, there are some best of both worlds, I guess.
Yeah, got to be careful with that. But again, you know, we can get into that a little bit more detail in a future live stream video. You know, when we get there.
And one of the things I'm doing, I'm following Gary's route of DC to start out with. I'm just trying not to buy too many locomotives, so when I do convert, I don't have to, you know, buy all those new decoders. So I'm trying to not focus my money on new locomotives right now because I know I will be converting soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can account for that. Like if you saw the money I've spent in the last 3 years, you know, there's a decent house deposit I could have done, you know, saved up for.
Welcome to the club, my friend.
yeah, I got my priorities straight right there, don't I?
There you go.
Well, and it's the price too. I mean, if you start going with sound and stuff like that, you know, DC to DCC with sound, there's $100 difference right there, right? You can buy another locomotive for $100, or you can buy a heck of a lot of scenery for $100, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, in my case, being in Australia, you know, like, unlucky in that sense because, you know, the taxes I have to pay and everything, shipping, you name it, all gets added on. So what you guys might spend, you know, like a lot of you guys over there are thinking, oh, you know, $100 is a lot for me, you know, 150 is too much, da. But in my case, you know, I'm talking, you know, some of the locos, that's my whole paycheck just on one loco, you know. And, you know, it'll be the same with a lot of modelers overseas, you know, like if you're in the country where they're manufactured, you know, so, you know, you got Cato USA, Atlas, Microtrains, you know, it's fairly cheap. But you start going overseas and, you know, it affects it so much more. And again, that's another topic we can talk about later on, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Brian?
No, I did promise that we were going to mention the other live streams, though. So if you don't mind, I'll do that real quick, and then we can move on to something else after that. Is that good?
Yeah. No, I've been watching. I see Joe's been throwing up some links in there. So
cool. Yeah, on Mondays, these all times are Eastern. Mondays at 6 is Nate of Tygotton Valley Railroad. Tom's Trains and Things comes on at 7. On Tuesdays, they do a round robin called Trackside what is it called? something Tuesdays.
Trackside Tuesday.
Yeah, on Track Tuesday. Thank you, Steve Arnold. And that's 4 guys who do a round robin. One of them is Wilmer, and then there's Redbird Tony, and I forget the Benny and Crooked River, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Dave?
Yeah.
I think he does it. Then you got a Sparky, of course, on Wednesday at 6. You got Sparky at 7. Am I saying all these times wrong? I am. Nate 7 times 8. Round robins on Tuesdays at 7. Sparky's at 7. You got Hot Rod Rodney at 7 on Thursday. You got Vinny at BNSF 6951 on Friday at 8. And then you got us at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And the new, it's Real Wicked Canadian or something, is the old RC channel, Toy Man. And he does a stream Saturday night. I'm not sure the time.
Yeah. Yeah, there also is rumors on one of the guys I subscribe to, Ray Bobel. He's actually thinking of maybe doing a live stream on Sunday nights. I'm not exactly sure what time it is. I think it was one of the last videos. Just going back to building a model railroad, I suggest subscribing to Ray Bobel. He just moved into a new home over the summer, and he's rebuilding his railroad. Quite interesting. Very interesting gentleman. He's been to Sparky's, Steamtown last year. Everybody knows him. Check out his channel. He's got an interesting build. Like, he's basically got his bench work down. He's putting his plywood and he's planning his track. It looks like a real big undertaking that he's got going on there. Totally subscribe to him, and he's DC. He's old school DC. So, HO, there you go.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Okay, so what else do I have on my list? So we've gone through scale, gone through. Oh, actually, I don't think we really touched much on what kind of era you'd go with when you do decide to build a model railroad.
And the fact that you do need to think about that.
Yeah, you do. So, I guess I'll start off. So, back to me for a minute. So when I started off doing model railroading, my thing, because, I love everything mechanical, I went straight for steam. And, why I decided to start buying steam, it's, when I first get into it, it was a nightmare, yes, not saying that it's a nightmare because, the locos I got were problematic, but it was a nightmare because, my inexperience on maintenance, cleaning, if something breaks, what's the easiest way to, go about fixing it, whereas with diesels, they're fairly easy to maintain, fairly easy to clean and keep running, less parts to actually break or fall apart from, So in saying that, going back around, so I started off with steam. I went from steam after having those little issues of my inexperience, I put them on the back burner, went into a little bit of diesel. So, I bought a couple of Buckman GP 35s and whatnot. Got myself a few boxcars, started building up my layout. And then as I got that experience, I started to move back into steam. And, my layout is prominently mainly steam. But now with, the excursion sets, and I'm now starting to buy a lot of diesels now because, some of the diesels I just got hooked on trying to collect the set, with those SD70 Kato models. But, so in my set, with my layout's now, I had to kind of redesign it a little bit to represent, the 1940s to roughly the 1980s, 1990s. Just so everything kind of fitted in.
I would agree with you. For me, era hasn't really been a huge issue. Mine has been getting stuff to all run. So I haven't really picked a particular era. I just, I've been really good at fixing old stuff that doesn't work well. So my railroad, I don't think, I can loosely call it, Santa Fe, but I tell you, it's a mix of stuff. So I don't have, and if you pick an era too, you're locked into that. So you're going to need to, if you want to be flexible, you kind of have to leave it open a little bit. And that's my case. I just, I don't particularly care, if it's an error or not. I just want it to run right.
Yeah. See, me, literally mine is all impulse impacted. My or local railroads, or former BC Rail. I try to find as much BC Rail stuff I can. I just love the railroad, the schemes, the colors. And, being on the west coast of Canada, I've got CN and CP here. I've got BNSF, rolling through my, or backyard, literally. It's all impulse. It's like my layout here. It's not modeled after anything really. It's just all impulse. Somewhere for me to run. I've got steam, I've got locos, I got brand new locos. I've got actually locos from my father when he was, they're 50 years old. I've converted those to DC, right? So, I'm all over the place. There's just no rhyme or reason for me. And then, you got people who are, okay, as of January 13th, 1992, that's when my era ends, right? Nothing after that, and nothing before 1972, and that's all they could like. I got a buddy every now and then I pick up stuff for him. I think, oh, it's a cool so-and-so would like this, yeah, no, I don't want that boxcar because it's got walkways on the roof. It's not my era.
Yeah.
You have anything to add to that, Brian?
Well, I actually, I'm definitely the newest one to the hobby in the group. And I recently started, and I was going to just run tons of steam, real long 200-300 car trains. You know how that is with steamers. And I learned real quick when I first tried to take my Bachmann 060 steamer apart that I wasn't going to just run steamers. So that was a nightmare. So what you mentioned earlier about a beginner trying to maintain, clean, and take care of steamers was an extremely good point, in my opinion. I was fortunate enough to select the transition period. So what I have done for now is I've transitioned into simple diesels with Kato because they are very easy to take apart, maintain, put back together, and all that stuff. And until I convert to DCC++, I'm not going to change anything else. I'm just going to stay with the diesels. And I'll look into the steamers when I get a little more experience.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, like in your case, Brian, like with us, you've got people in the community who can help you, on how to maintain, how to pull it apart, is there any tricks, any modifications? Because, I don't think there's been any steamer I've ever owned where I haven't done some small modification to, whether it be couplers to, slightly bending the, drive rods, to, rewiring it, in some instances, just so that, I had lighting to work independently instead of all off the one circuit.
Bingo. And I want to comment on something before you just touched on before it gets too late. That's exactly the problem that I had when I was dealing with the Bachmann 060. I had not yet become friends with a lot of you guys in the community. I had nobody to reach out to, and that was the difference. And that's the purpose of this show, so we can all get together and hang out, exchange ideas, and learn from each other. I know I need each and every one of you guys. Y'all helped me a ton. I probably could have been successful with a steamer had I been interacting with all you guys regularly, but I was too new to the hobby. And most people real new to the hobby won't have those peer groups to touch on first. So it might be good to start with diesel.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have anything to add to that, Marcel, at all? Or?
Well, it's kind of funny you say it. It says, like you're talking the maintenance and the care of the steam and stuff like that. Some of the new diesels that you get out, there's a bit of maintenance to it too. So, a couple of years ago, I just bought a brand new switcher, right? Beautiful Rapido scale, so detailed, it's unbelievable, right? I pull it out of the box or run around the railroad once, and oh, the horn's missing. Where the heck the horn come? The horn fell off, right? Okay, find the horn, put that horn back on. I mean, I really do not know how the heck they can put these things together. It's so intricate and so fun. Keep it together. It's unbelievable, right? So yeah, no, you know, I've got some of the old Ather and SW 1200s. They run fine, super simple. They're on DCC, and yeah, they're not as finicky and flaky as some of the new stuff. New stuff is beautiful, gorgeous. I mean, literally, I mean, they're so beautiful they should be shelf queens almost. Right, but yeah, simplicity. There's something to be said about the simple stuff, right?
The only thing I would add would be not to overspend your skill level. You know, don't try to, you know, imitate somebody just because that's what you want to do, because you'll kind of blow yourself out of the water with not knowing what to do. And I think that's, you know, kind of what you did, Brian. You know. But that's the only thing I would add to it.
Yeah, and if you're new and watching this stream, my suggestion to you, one of the most important things I did very beginning of the hobby was I watched Tom's Trains and Things, 10 Beginner Mistakes. I didn't say the title right, but if you search for that, you'll find it. Fantastic video. I'd be amiss not to mention that.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Like, as I said, I don't think I can count the mistakes I've made on, you know, my hands alone. I need to borrow all you guys' limbs just to count how many mistakes I've done in my model railroad, you know, career, so to speak.
And that's what we're going to be talking about soon, huh?
Yeah. No, definitely. So, maybe it's something we can talk about next week. Maybe, you know, like, what do you guys think? You know, in chat, let us know. You know, now it's coming towards the end of the show. You know, send us an email and let us know if that's what you want us to talk about next week. You know, as Brian said at the start of the show, we're going to try and, you know, being that we're still fairly new to, you know, all this, we're going to try and, you know, make it kind of a series, you know, start from the very start and work our way forward, and then from there start jumping into the more intricate things, you know. So yeah, is there anything else any of you guys wanted to add at all?
No, not me.
Yeah, no, everybody grow with us, right?
Yeah, Brian?
Now, I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here and supporting us and the channel and the community as a whole. And my understanding is Vinny BNSF 6951 has a premiere coming up very soon today. I'm not sure exactly the time, but maybe go over there and check that out.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, again, you know, if you guys have any suggestions, any topic ideas, videos you want us to show on, you know, in our intermission
throw
break,
in some layout videos too. Email some layout of your layout videos. We can put together a slideshow of layouts maybe at some point.
Yeah, exactly, you know, and yeah, we'll work on it, you know, the best we can. You know, we're not, you know, video specialists. You know, we're doing this all off laptops and, you know, watching YouTube videos on how to do
iPhones.
it. And iPhones. Yeah.
And I just noticed Wilmer's here. Y'all make sure to watch his Not Bad. Check that out each week when it comes out. And it's probably a good time if you want to go ahead and to promote your channels before we cancel the stream out. You could go ahead and do that now as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess guys, yeah, thanks for watching another live stream from the Back on Track team. This is Trackside Live. And yeah, just, you know, as Brian said, go into the chat, throw up your channel, you know, let everyone know who you are, and yeah, hopefully we'll see all you guys here next week. Steve?
Yeah, we really thank you guys for coming. We're kind of enjoying doing this. This is it's a growing process for us too. So you know, this is the second show, and I would have to say it went better than the first one.
Oh, wait. Joe G's got a contest about to start. Y'all go check that out. He
That's
just
right.
put the link in the chat. I almost forgot. Sorry about that, Joe G.
Yep.
And
he's
all you
got a-
got to do is tell Joe you're in, and
Yep.
you're in the car.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can win one of his 3-bay hopper cars, kind of like this.
Mm.
Marcel said they're sexy.
Yeah. 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 And Joe, we expect you to be on camera next week at least, please. You know, everyone needs to see your ugly mug. They've seen all of ours.
Joe G.
Joe G.
Joe G.
All right, guys.
Your call.
Okay, guys. I guess I'll close the stream off for now. So again, thanks for watching Trackside Live. It's been great having you guys here. So yeah, we'll see you all again. You know, same time next week.
See you guys next week.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Peace. See you then.